Hello, Soundies. Welcome to our sound. Oh, do I remember how to do this? Thank you, Matt. I hope I do remember how to do this too. Welcome to our Sound for Video session. Apologies for the mic hit there. I hope everybody's doing well. It's been a few weeks since we saw you, and I know the notification was a little bit harried this week. Apologies for that. We had a busy weekend, busy Saturday leading up into this, so we'll get better at that. Let's go over to our agenda. Today it's very simple. We have actually in the house a new Radius Mini-ALTO Windshield. So I just literally cracked the box open this morning. This is not a review, but we're going to take a first look at it. Also, just to mention, this is, as always, a workshop that goes along with our courses over at school.learnlightandsound.com. And these are not detailed reviews, so I just want to set expectations for anyone that's watching these back later. I think everyone that's joins live realizes that, but sometimes people will watch these later and leave a comment like, that wasn't a very good review. And it's like, well, this is not a review. This is a workshop. So also, Matt, if you wouldn't mind putting an invite link to the Discord server in the chat. Oh no, I don't know if you can do that. I will do that in just a second. And we'll get you a link. If anyone wants to join the Discord server, we have the start of a community going on over there. A little bit of discussion here and there, new product announcements, people having discussions about that. For example, Deity released, or they didn't release anything. They announced 2 new recorders, a PR6 and a PR8, if I remember right, or is it PR4 and PR6? It's one of those. I think it's PR4 and 6. A little bit of discussion about those going on. One of the worst kept secrets in the audio world. When I was at NAB in April, Andrew had a 3D printed copy of the 6, and it wasn't actually operating. It was literally just like a form of what it was going to look like, and we talked through all the different features with me in terms of what it was going to be able to do, at least in theory. You have to wait until it's released to know what it actually does. But to his own credit, he said, well, this is the worst kept secret in the audio industry. Agreed, Andrew. So let's see, what else have we got here? That's the main stuff. We didn't have any questions submitted ahead of time because I didn't get a notification sent out ahead of time. But let's go ahead and we'll cut back to our main camera here. I'll grab the link for the Discord server. Put that over here. We have a new little accent back here. This is blown glass. Danny and I got a chance to take a class and made this little sphere over here, which is pretty cool, pretty fun. I mean, pretty cool if we do say so ourselves, but that we got to do it was very cool.
It was really hot.
It was really hot, actually. Good point. All right, copy the link. We'll put this in the chat. Join our Discord. And okay, that should be in the chat. Cool. All right, well, let's talk about the Mini-ALTO from Radius Windshields. This is, of course, there's an interesting story here. And let me just pull up their site. There we go. Let's switch over to the Mac, Danny. All right. So we're already on the mailing list. Thank you. Okay, Radius Windshields. Radius is started by a couple of the folks that used to work at Rycote. And Rycote was bought out by I don't know if it's a holding company, a parent company of some sort, that also owns Manfrotto. I believe they own light panels, and they bought a bunch of filmmaking related things over the last several years. But it seems like those companies are kind of struggling, to be honest. So it looks like a couple of the employees from Radius went off, started Radius instead of to kind of move the product line forward with their own windshields. And they have these different kind of shock mounts. Instead of lyres, they actually have these hoops or loops, and kind of different designs. So they've taken all the things they learned before and are starting to apply those. So let's take a look at these here. This looks actually quite a bit like remember the Nano Shield? So it's a similar size, actually even smaller than the Nano Shield. So why don't we cut to the overhead camera here? This is the 250. The 250 is actually made for microphones about the size of the MKH, sorry, not the MKH, the DPA 4017B. So we'll get that out in just a minute here. But obviously the kind of Zeppelin or blimp style windshield design. And the 250, they come in different lengths. This is the 250. And that refers to the millimeters, so 25 centimeters basically. And then if you pop it open, this is what the inside looks like. These are the hoops that you suspend the microphone from, which is pretty cool. And the way they go together is it just slides on. This is actually much easier than the Nano Shield. The Nano Shield was really hard to get it onto the track. This one just actually pops on and connects magnetically, just like that. And the front goes on, and that was in the way. Let's get to, there we go, snaps into place. Then you have these sort of rubberized retaining loops there. Pull it on. We have, of course, have a 3/8 inch threaded adapter down here. And then we have the holder for XLR cables if you're going to be using XLR cables. And that's that. Now, before we move on, let's go back to the website here. I want to show you, there were some things that they walked me through. So they call their shock mounts the Rad 2 shock mounts. 4 pairs of hoops. In fact, let me pull those out. Different sized hoops. So if we go back to the overhead camera, I can show those. So it comes with these. And then, of course, you can put the suspension, the grippers for the microphones inside of those. And these are different, I believe, yeah, these are different stiffness. So the more flexible ones are going to be for the lighter microphones, because there is an ideal amount of give you want them to have. You want them to kind of move a little bit, but not too much. And so these stiffer ones here, these dark blue ones, are much stiffer. So that's going to be for your heavier microphones. This is somewhere in the middle, and this seems particularly flexible. So this would be for the smaller microphones, maybe the MKH 8050, so on and so forth. So they come with the different things. Okay. Popping these back on. Okay, so that's that. Yes, I need to figure out what they are for. Comes with these retaining kind of rubber things here as well. Not sure what they call those. Actually, here's the easy way to do it. Danny suggested. These are all the spare parts that come with it. So the hoops, dark green, light blue, dark blue, what's called a cable gland. So with a windshield like this, one of the tricks is you want the microphone to be completely suspended, not tied to the basket itself. So you want it to operate independent of that. So to get the microphone cable out, you have what they call their little gland here, which allows you to route the cable through without tying the shock mount assembly directly and having it move with the basket directly. It's not directly connected. It has some suspension between the microphone mount and the basket itself. So that's the idea here. And that's what that is. And then the different cable plugs, a pistol grip handle, which I have right here. So you can also run the XLR. You can put the XLR connector in here if you're going to do that. 3/8 inch connector on the bottom. And of course this articulates, so you can adjust the angle of the connector any way you need. It does have teeth, so it grabs very securely. All right, let's see here. I've got some additional screws, a travel safety strap. you get the idea. Carabiner here, so you can attach it to things when you're not presently using it. An Allen key, and if you got the MKH50 kit, it would also come with the special clips for the MKH50. As we all know, the MKH50 has a very odd shape. It is not a cylinder like most microphones. It actually has flattened edges on two sides and then is cylindrical otherwise, which is interesting, but there are separate clips that you can buy for those. All right, then of course, I have not opened this yet, but this is the fur wind cover. So Rycote made these, of course, for many, many years. And they're made in Devon, England. Also, what's unique about Radius is that they have direct customer support, so if you do have an issue, you actually contact them directly. And with 3 generations, over 50 years of experience, it's kind of what they do. So that's the overall idea here. Now let's go ahead and look at actually mounting the microphone. Let's go back to the main camera for a moment here. Let's get the microphone. Have anything going on in the chat that we need to take a look at? Do you have a comparable Rycote windshield on hand? I do. I have a Nano Shield. It's in the other room. I'll have to go get it, but I do have one. In fact, that'd be a good size comparison. We'll do that in a little bit here. Okay, back to the overhead camera. So this is the MKH50. What I don't have yet is I have not purchased the cable that I'm going to use with this, so we can't test it today. But what we can do is at least fit the microphone in there and see how that does. So we just disconnect those. We just pull it apart like that. And then there's this sort of rubber retainer here. Kind of wraps around and snaps in place once you get the microphone in there. So we'll release that on both of those. And you can see here what I was talking about, where these move completely independently of the basket. So the basket's connected down here to the base, but these move independent of that. So as you're cueing back and forth, the basket's moving because it's connected to the base here, but the microphones have this shock mounting between any sort of movement of the basket and the base. They move independently. Okay, so then I want to get our microphone in there. And that is a firm fit. It's good. Okay, the nice thing here is I've got them spaced just right. So I still have access to my high-pass filter and my presence boost. And we can see, and I'll go ahead and tighten this on here. Nice firm grip. Your microphone is not going to come disconnected in here. The Lyres in the past just had the friction, the rubberized surface and friction that kind of held them together. This has this additional rubber band type thing to retain it. There we go. As I move it, you can see the microphone shock mount allows the microphone to move a little bit without. In fact, I might want to put the even lighter weight Lyres on here, or not Lyres. I'm even using the old terminology here. From Rycote, they were called Lyres. Now they are, I believe they're calling them hoops or rings. There we go. So that's how the microphone fits in. All right, so once I do get the cable, what we'll do is we will mount it. It has some retaining, some additional things here. I need to work through the details on this here. We'll do that, of course, for the review, but the different bits there to attach the cable and to also move the lighters if you need to, or remove the hoops if you need to. So there we go. That's just like our first look. Let's go back to the chat and see what we have going on. Just a second here, I'll go get the Nano Shield and we can take a look at that compared to this. All right, Nicholas, hi. I decided to buy a Mini-ALTO after watching Rare Finds sound design video where he mentioned it. I'm using the same mics for a portable mid-side setup, Rycote SC08 and BD10 Zoom H5 Studio Recorder. Ah, very good. Nicholas, how's your experience been with it so far? Curious to hear. I got the 180. 115 is a bit too small unless your mics and connectors are really short. Yeah, you have to kind of leave room for the cables for sure. I 3D printed some clips from the two mid-side mics. Radius released mid-side clips of their own. I bought some that should get here later this week. Oh, very good. Okay, so mid-side recording in a windshield. So I'm gathering that you're going outdoors and capturing some ambiances and things like that. Very cool. Dunchi girl, I use vintage Sennheiser T microphones and spend for a windshield complete just 80 euros. In each other case, for sure, I do a DIY solution that looks not good, but for flight works better. Very good. So for those that are not familiar, what DaVinci Girl is talking about there, the original version, for example, of the 416 was released and it was T-powered, not phantom-powered. T-powered is a different voltage and current setup. So that's what she's referring to. Okay, cool. Yeah. Mark, actually, Vitek is now Videndum. They own a ton of brands in the photo, video, and audio markets. Yes, that's what we're talking about. Yes, Videndum. Thank you, Mark, for the clarification. Rycote is to Radius like Wooden Camera is to Mid-49. So I'm assuming the Wooden Camera people sold out and then, or were bought and then went back and started their own company. Yes, Wooden Camera is also owned by Videndum, formerly Vitek. Okay. Danny says, my next mic will likely be an MKH8018. I don't believe Radius offers 5-pin connectors. Yeah, you may be DIY in that cable. So for those that, again, not familiar, the 8018 is a mid-side shotgun microphone, or a stereo shotgun microphone, I should say. So it has a 5-pin XLR output. So there's definitely some work to do there to rig that up. Okay. I'm going to go grab, oh, Nicholas. It worked well. Low profile connectors to the mics are basically required. I got a 2 times 3-pin to 5-pin Y cable. Okay, cool. Cool. I'm going to go grab the Nano Shield. It'll take me just a moment to do that, but so we can at least set them side by side and you can see them. So give me just a moment here. While we're doing that, we'll just play a little music for you. Why not? Okay, friends, we're back. Mixing, presenting, all at the same time is tricky. Okay, here we have the Rycote Nano Shield kit. Let me just pull that out. So for those that have not seen it before, there's the shield. Here's the shock mount. Let's cut to the overhead camera here. Okay, so this is the Radius windshields shock mount. This is the Rycote shock mount. So a couple things I want to kind of point out. I could actually probably use this cable, to be honest, over here. It's not the lowest profile XLR output cable, but probably good enough for what I need. Some things that are different that I noticed right off the bat. This particular one, they released it, I believe, at about the same time. Rycote released it at about the same time they were doing their quick release system. So this one is actually has the quick release connector built into it. Obviously, the Radius does not have that. And I actually really like this. I'll be honest, I like this quick release system. This is what I use. But that's not a problem. I can add a quick release here. I have a 3/8 inch version of it there. Another difference here is you'll notice that the base, it's hard to see here. There you can see it, but the track to which you connect the basket itself, it's actually pretty small. And it's much bigger on the Radius windshields. Sticks out much more. So what they've done is another difference here. Let me just bring the Nano Shield over here. To attach this, it was always it's always a little bit of a challenge to get the basket in the right groove. There we go. So, and it just sits there. It's not magnetically connected yet. And then, let's say I had a microphone connected. It's not the quickest change out I'd ever experienced. And I'm still, oh, whoops. Cable's in the way. Get that out of the way. Okay, then there are magnets on each side of the basket that attach to each other, but you also have these locks here. There we go. So that's the Nano Shield. For comparison, let me just connect this up. Okay, and then we can attach these. And we are done. So if I need to work quickly, I think the Nano Shield or the Radius Mini-ALTO is gonna work a little bit better from that standpoint. They used a different structure here. So you'll see on the Mini-ALTO they have these sort of wavy designs, and the idea from what was described to me is that the wavy design can actually be a bit more sonically transparent. On the Nano Shield, they were using this sort of honeycomb, larger honeycomb design, which is not structurally quite as sound as the Mini Radius or the Mini-ALTO, but I that's TBD. I have not used the Mini-ALTO yet to get a sense for how it sounds or if it colors the sound at all. Anyway, also the diffusion material is actually on the inside, whereas it was on the outside with the Mini or with the Nano Shield. So I want to take a closer look at that really quickly here. Whoops. Pop that out. So this is very, I don't know if you can see that. It's really quite thin. It seems like it's the same material, but it's thinner than what's on the Nano Shield. So I think what they're trying to achieve here is that the trick is always, we can go back to the main camera here for just a minute. The trick with working with windshields is there's always a trade-off. The thicker the material you put on there, generally, or there are other things, other factors, but the more material you put between the microphone and the sound source, the more it's going to color the sound, especially the higher frequencies. So challenge is always you want to provide wind coverage. You want to be able to diffuse any moving air that hits the basket and diffuse that air before it hits the microphone capsule. So that's what these achieve. And that's why these are so much more effective. The basket style covers are so much more effective than just the kind that you slide on that sit right next to the microphone. Those don't have the ability to diffuse things quite as much. Or if they do, they have the fur covers built in, and the fur is very good at diffusing, but the problem is it colors the sound a bit more. So I think what they're trying to achieve here is that with the primary basket, keep the material as sonically transparent as possible, keep it very thin for low wind conditions. And then if you are in a higher wind condition, you can always pop on the fur. So while we're here, let's just open that up. Take a look at that. Since it looks like it's made to be reusable, I'm going to cut it with scissors. Okay, so that's the general idea with wind protection as I understand it. If anyone has other insights, by all means, share those in the chat here. Okay, just show this and then we'll take a look. Okay, so here is the fur cover. Question is, how does this fit on there? Okay, here it is. There's just an opening right here. So let's go to the overhead camera. And putting that on, is there some sort of retention? There's snaps. Ooh, I need to look into this a little bit more. How does this work? I think instead of the elastic that they have on the rye coach, you have snaps here. So you don't have that elastic flapping around in the wind. Before I mash the basket all together, I need to read the documentation on how to get that to fit. But that is the idea there, again. And this has a couple of layers. Obviously, it has the fur on the outside, but it also has this kind of synthetic material on the inside that offers another layer. So this is for the Alto 250. You buy it for the size of the windshield that you have. So that's the idea there. Okay, let's go back to the main camera and to the chat and see what we have going here. Here we are. Alejandro, can you remind me which microphone took the place of the Sennheiser 816? You're taking me back. I'm not familiar with the older lineup, to be honest. Was the 816 the stereo? MKH 816? No, it's a long shotgun microphone. No, that's the 8070. 816. Somebody else probably knows right off the top of their head.
We can go on.
We can go on. I apologize. I don't know. It looks like it's a long shotgun microphone. I don't know. Does Sennheiser have a new long shotgun? Is it the 8070? I would assume it's the 8070. That's my guess.
Okay, this is the one that you first used.
I like that microphone. Which is it?
The one that's in the new.
Oh, that's the DPA 4017B. We can pop that open. You can. I assume this is what you're talking about, Cognition, if we go to the overhead cam. That's the DPA 4017B. It's not a cheap microphone. That is my primary shotgun microphone for location work. Danny, I've got 3 nano shields. I also standardize on Rycote's PCS quick release, which is awesome. Yeah, I do like the quick release, the PCS system. It has been very good for me as well. Never dropped a microphone. Rory on a Bike says, Radius will be making a larger Alto as well as the Mini-Alto. I purchased a 250 myself because I think that it covers the winds that I need to address, but with less bulk and weight. Bulk and weight definitely are factors. Just for reference, let me just show you one other thing here. I brought the Rycote Cyclone out as well, which is made basically for high wind situations. And let me show you that. It's not mini and it's not light. Well, I mean, it's light for what it is, but it's not the same as these others here. So here's the Cyclone. You can see the PCS quick release here as well. It pops open differently. Oops, there we go. And there's its shock mount inside. So it's basically 2 pieces that kind of fit side by side. Made for larger microphones. I can easily fit an MKH 416 in here with a standard cable, no problem at all. But you can see it's thicker material on the outside, so it's definitely made for higher winds. I've never needed to use a fur on top of this. But it's also bulkier and quite a bit heavier than the Radius or the Nano Shield. So just for size comparison there. Okay. Gonna need to get a little lint roller out after this. That shield setup was way quicker. Yeah, the Radius windshields, they've really done a nice job. The Nano Shield was cool in terms of being small and lightweight, and I like it, but it was always a pain to get a microphone in or out of there. It just took longer, period. Seems like the wavy design would disperse waves. Not sure. Not sure how the physics work on that exactly. Maybe. Hats off to Radius. There's some very thoughtful design. Agreed. So far. I don't know how they are in terms of durability. I did hear one person say, well, the initial batch had some issues. We're now, I think, a couple years in. I think they started about 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half ago. So they're getting some things dialed in, and looking forward to trying it out, see how it goes. But yeah, hats off. They have been very thoughtful about it. Still going through the WAV files from yesterday, but at first listen, I didn't notice any sound coloration. That's a good sign. Radius recommends a low-profile cable, which reduces bulk. Radius's US distributor, Reading Audio, makes the cables that Radius offers via its subsidiary Cable Techniques. Great. Okay, good. Thanks, Rory, for the insights there. Good to know. So I'll be looking at those. The amount of plastic they're using seems like it would be a sound issue. Do you mean the amount of plastic on the outside? Yeah, I don't know. We shall see. Let's look at the let's look at the Rycote on that, and the Rycote Cyclone in that regard as well. But let's go to Daniel's question here. Have you taken a look at the 20.2 version of Blackmagic Design DaVinci Resolve? I have installed it. I'm trying to remember what the main features were. There's now ProRes RAW support, which I don't generally use, but that's cool for those that do wish to use it. It's good to see them adding new codecs and compatibility there. Evidently there are some new things for Fairlight as well, but I haven't. When I tried to find it on their website quickly, I didn't find it. It didn't say anything about what those new features are. So still looking into that. But I have been using DaVinci Resolve at work and for the YouTube channel and for editing and for mixing, and it's been good. I'm getting my feet. I would say I'm up to my mid-calf now as far as my experience with DaVinci Resolve. I use the color panel because I've used that for years. especially before Final Cut added their own color wheels. But I haven't really gotten into Fusion a whole lot. That one's still a little mind-bending to me. But definitely the edit. I don't understand the cut page either, to be honest. I just haven't dug in, spent the time to understand that. But the edit page totally makes sense to me. Works really well in my experience for what I do. Fairlight is fantastic for mixing. Color is really, really good once you're used to that kind of mindset for how that particular panel works. But haven't looked at any of the new features beyond that. Nicholas, I did make sure the BD10's grills weren't next to the large plastic bands that hold the magnets. Yeah, good idea. You do have to wonder if there are so many magnets around. Will the MKH 416 fit in the Mini-ALTO? Well, it depends on which length you get, Alejandro. If we go to their website and we look at the 250, they say it fits. You can see which ones it fits, so you can just come over here. You should get it with the 280 or the 300 will fit the MKH 416. So you probably want to go up to the 280 if you're going to be using it with the 416. I would say the 250 is probably for short shotgun mics, more likely. Chris, the Mini-ALTO has a dense structure. Indeed it does. It's dense, but still pretty flexible too. In terms of material though, yes, dense, especially on the, can you see on the ends here? We can go back to the overhead here real quick. So I guess the shape, we'll have to see how the shape does, the shape of these. But again, as it was described to me, this makes them more sonically transparent. And our friend has not noticed any noise or any coloration. The 280 version works with low profile XLR on the 416, 300 version for standard XLR. Oh, Bo, thanks so much. Bradley, been using the 180 for an MKH 50 and soon 4017C. Have been confident with the magnets alone, even for aggressive cueing swinging, although the option for the rubber tabs is a nice extra peace of mind. Bradley, curious to hear if you've heard any sort of transparency or coloration issues with yours. You found my missing cat. This is not. Don't, Mark, how dare you? This is not a cat. This is a fur wind cover. You're thinking of Rode, which calls things dead so-and-sos. Dead cats, dead wombats, dead. Do they have a dead rat? I don't know. Bo, I literally spent the last week deep diving through every resource about this Mini-ALTOs, so super stoked to stumble on this live stream. Well, yeah, me too. Sorry, it's not very in-depth. We're just getting started with it. Literally just unboxed it, but yeah, very excited about it as well. Nicholas, what would be nice is if Radius could sell shorter cylinders with magnets by themselves so you could stack them for a custom length. Oh, that's an interesting idea. They'd have to have a way to stabilize them too, though. Yeah. Anyway, they do offer a black fur too. There's a sound difference between the two, with the gray being a bit more neutral, if I remember correctly. Okay, good. 816 is longer shotgun mic. Okay. That makes sense. MKH 418 is the stereo. Thank you. And 8018 is the new generation stereo. Keeping up with all these different companies' product numbering systems is quite a job. Robert says, I can normally use both my blimp and fur cover. Would you recommend you not using the fur unless wind is an issue? Yeah, I would use the fur only when you need it. Generally. Rory on a bike. These windscreens are not designed to be used in a gale. Radius will be producing standard windscreens that can be used in higher winds. makes sense based on the thickness of the material. And again, it doesn't take very much. I mean, the wind has to be moving really fast to make it through the diffusion material and not get diffused enough to prevent any sort of distortion on the microphone capsule. So, I mean, yeah, if you're filming out in heavy winds, gales, as we call them, then yeah, you definitely need more coverage. But a lot of times just being outdoors when there's a 2 or 3 mile per hour breeze, you just need enough to diffuse that, even up to 10 or 15 miles per hour. Once it gets beyond that, then it's more of a gale. Bradley says, for sizing, True has the compatibility chart on their add-on kit to retrofit a currently owned Radius mount. Oh, very good. Thanks, Bradley. There's a YouTube short on fitting the fur. There's a... Thanks so much for the help. You all are going to make this very easy for me. Nicholas says, the size and weight of my Radius is great. I kept the microphones mounted in the Radius and folded the pistol grip down. That plus the H5 Studio and the cables fit in a messenger bag. Very nice. Very compact. Making things easy. Brad says, also have Bumblebee announcing their blimp system at IBC. Bumblebee, yes. Bumblebee Industries. Making sound better. I wonder if they have it on their site yet. If we go over to the Mac here, lavalier, whoops. Good there. Shotgun mic and boom accessories. Now, of course, I've had the slide-on types before quite a while, the spacer bubble. But if they have a blimp style system, it is not on their site just yet, it looks like, but we'll be looking forward to that as well. Mark, no, seriously, my cat sheds like you wouldn't believe. That is the cost of having mammalian pets in your house. We don't have a dog, but we have a dog that visits from time to time and leaves plenty of fur, plenty of love behind. I try it different. Why not just use the cat without basket? Well, you don't want it flopping around, Da Vinci Girl. That's the main reason.
Okay.
And you can use the slide-on types that do have fur as well as an option. Or fashion your own. You could always DIY it. I have seen that the kind that you slide on, though, typically have a very open foam, or it's even kind of it's not even really foam. It's a very open kind of material that does just a tiny bit of diffusion. It lets the fur do most of the diffusion, but it provides a structure to hold the fur at an equidistant from the microphone capsule and from the interference tube. So that's what I've seen on those. Again, in an effort to keep it more transparent.
Okay, so that's all about this topic. There's some other stuff that we can come back.
Okay, good. All right, did we get we have the link for the Discord server, so everyone's got that. That's it. If you didn't get that, if you joined later, we did put a link to join the Discord server earlier in the chat, so you can scroll back up and find that if you're interested in joining, if you haven't already. And we'll be having lots of fun conversations there. People get to share stuff, share their experience, which is really good because then we can learn together and not have to make we don't all have to make the mistakes. We can share what we've learned so that we don't use up quite as much time getting where we want to be.
Okay, do you want additional comments?
Yeah, keep going on the comments here. Did you see Deity's new field recorders? So yes, we talked about those just a touch earlier, but let me see if they have anything on their site yet. Oh, they do. Okay, we go over to the Mac here. So here's the PR4, it looks like, which is a 2 XLR input plus a 3.5 millimeter input. So a total of 4 tracks, it looks like. And then here is the PR6. This is the 6 input 10 track recorder. It is Magic Mystery, as you can see. They're not sharing all the details just yet. But this appears to be a Zoom F3 type of kind of format.
The other one looks like a Sound Devices.
Yep, the other one looks like a Sound Devices. This is cool because it's powered by an NPF style battery, it looks like. Is there a sled on it? Yeah, oh, you can slot it inside. Wow, it fits inside. Okay. Nice. True dual media. Don't you hate it when you show up to a shoot and forgot your SD card? It features a 64 gigabit or gigabyte internal solid state storage plus an SD expansion to 512 gigabytes. Cool. So they're doing it like some of the Pro recorders do. The 888 has a built-in SSD plus 2 additional SD card slots. So they're doing a similar type thing. They've got a 64 gigabyte internal storage plus SD card. Pretty cool. This one looks like the form factor you've seen with most bag field recorders. Let's get closer up here. 6 input, 10 tracks, 32-bit float, dual analog to digital converters. Ooh, AES-3 and AES-42 support. I wonder if that's on the outputs as well or just the inputs. Dual media storage, and that's all they have right now. So you got to sign up to learn more. Portable, so 4 XLR inputs, one 3.5 millimeter stereo input, as I understand it, with knobs for all 6 channels, hopefully. Cool. I wonder if the AES is, again, just on the inputs or also, what are the outputs? They don't show. It's hard to tell from this photo here. Can I make it big? Can I biggie size it? Okay, 4 inputs here. We have time code. So I'm assuming it will have a built-in time code generator. 3.5 millimeter input, 2 USB ports. That's interesting. Okay. Back, I'm assuming that it has dual NPF style batteries. Okay. This looks like a Hiroshi power input over here. This looks like probably an antenna port. Probably for the Bluetooth capabilities, but I'm not sure. We're guessing here. Looks like 2 outputs. I can't tell. 2 XLR outputs, maybe? Hard to tell what all this stuff. This is probably the SD card slot cover. Screen, control buttons, menu encoder, record, pause. So I'm guessing that some of the transport controls are soft controls down here or something like that. Oh, you can do it by touch. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's cool. Not sure what this is right here. Hard to read. Can you see it better on here? Oh, it's fader. Oh, you can switch between fader and gain mode. What a brilliant idea. I love that. So I'm assuming you push a button and then these become faders. Push it again and they become gain trims. That's awesome. I love that. Really good idea, Deity, if that's what that is. So that's what we know so far. Interesting. Looking forward to seeing those. All right, Alejandro, will you be reviewing the Deity PR4 and PR6 audio recorders? I heard they support AES. Yes, I will happily review them once they are available. Keep in mind, Deity has the way they operate is they tend to be very vocal about announcing things, but it takes a while before they actually get them shipping. So just be aware of that. It may be a while before we see those. Okay, next up. Cognition. I think you may have some affinity with the Fairlight page, though, no? Yes, I do have some affinity with the Fairlight page. Haven't noticed anything obviously different there. in version 20.2. Is this a mic or windshield review? This is neither. This is a workshop. This is just the first time we looked at the Radius Mini-ALTO. Obviously, I need to spend some time with it, work with it, and then we'll be doing a review on my main channel, not my live stream channel. This is the live stream channel, just for clarity. And it's not a, this is neither. No reviews yet. One of the attractions of Mini-ALTO windscreens is that they can be used for different mics. I can use the 250 for both the Shep CMC 6 MK41 dialogue mics and a Rycote HC22 shotgun. That is definitely an appeal. Can you recommend a small blimp for a Rode Video Mic NTG? How about a Mini-ALTO? I haven't used them yet. But yeah, I mean, that would be the first place I'd look in today's world. Can you remind about AES 42? So AES are digital standards, digital connection standards for microphones and line interconnects. So if we go to Wikipedia and we search for AES 42, we can go ahead and cut to the Mac here. Okay, let's try AES3. Let's try AES3. AES3 is a standard for the exchange of digital audio signals between professional audio devices. So AES3 can carry two signals of pulse code modulated digital audio. That is basically PCM, or WAVE is a PCM format, over several transmission media, including balanced lines, unbalanced lines, and optical fiber. Okay, so that's AES3. AES42, standard for digital interface for professional digital microphones, allowing direct digital interconnection with devices like digital consoles and mixers. It provides powering and remote control capabilities for microphones, enabling features such as adjusting gain, polarity, and filters from the console. The standard carries audio and control data on a modulated 10-volt phantom power supply, offering benefits like a higher dynamic range by digitizing the signal at the microphone capsule and reducing analog gain stages. So it's another AES standard. I don't know all the details. It sounds like you can control the microphones. It has some additional instructions so you can control the microphones a little bit better. Some additional things. AES, I think 3 is just interconnections. So usually you use that on the output. You would use an AES3 connection between two mixers, for example, or between a mixer and a camera to get digital audio from one to the other.
I was talking too loud.
We hear you, Danny.
Talking too loud.
We're in a very small room here, so it happens. DD has no history on field recorders outside the PR2, right? PR2, also their transmitters for the DoD Theos system also records. Did the previous generation, some of their wireless stuff, they have recording experience with those. And I will say on both the PR2 and the DoD Theos wireless, the transmitters, they record very high quality audio from what I've heard. The transmitted audio is not as high quality. That's transmitted wirelessly, but the recordings on the transmitter packs themselves seem very good to me. But in terms of standalone recorders, no, this will be their first time. Brad said, question, you mentioned a UHF wireless course in production. Can you tease what other courses or updates you're working on? Well, I don't have anything to tease right now. No, we do have a week scheduled at the end of September to finish off the wireless course, and then we'll come up with plans for additional courses beyond that. But the one thing that definitely needs an update is the Fairlight course. Fairlight has changed a bit, and I want to kind of approach how we teach that a little differently as well. A lot of people don't understand processing an individual audio clip versus mixing. They don't really... A lot of times video people are just taking an individual audio clip and they just want to work on that and do nothing else. It's just spoken word, that's all I want. That is still mixing at some level. It's not mixing multiple tracks, but it is the general process of mixing. But yeah, we'll come back to that. Fachiri, I'm a little late, but do you have recommendations for a breakaway cable manufacturers for the MixPre 10? I've been looking at the Canary one. I don't have any breakaway cables. If anyone in the community here does, if you could help our friend Fachiri out, that would be great. Canary makes some quality stuff though, so that would be a good place to start in my experience with Canary cables. Okay. I think, DaVinci Girl, still disappointed that Blackmagic do not offer MIDI channels and multiple controller possibilities, but as long as the visual guides dominate Blackmagic, the Fairlight will never be a professional solution. To put that in context, over at Production Expert, every year they do a survey of all the people that read Production Expert, are members of that community, and they ask, okay, which DAW, digital audio workstation, do you use? And they break the group into music mixing and film and video post-production. The percentage of people using Fairlight was very small. It was like 1%, as I recall, for this year, and they just released the results for this year. So it's still very small, at least amongst the readership at Production Expert, which are probably the pros that are working on the higher end projects. These are people that are making their livings doing it. So yeah, Fairlight's still a pretty small one. Can you make a professional mix in Fairlight? I believe you can. But I think there's a lot of industry momentum, and the majority of the post-production people are using, of course, Pro Tools. Alejandro, how are the Deity smart batteries and chargers? I heard some of the cables and certain cables tend to overheat. I haven't stress tested them big time, but I haven't had any problems with them either. So I have one of their smart batteries, I have the charger, and I have the AC adapter. I haven't had any problems with any of them, but I'm not using them day in and day out. Excuse me, I used them for, prepping for the review, so I put them in rotation for about a month, and I didn't have any problems with them. If you're pushing hard, I only had one battery, so if you're charging multiple batteries, maybe that becomes an issue. I don't know. Did Radius mention anything about their boom pole quick releases? They showed some prototypes a year ago, but their website doesn't show anything. They didn't mention anything to me when I talked with them in April at NAB. I don't remember anything about quick release. No. I just hope Rycode stays in business so that I can still add additional connectors for my PCS system if I need to. Hopefully they, you never know. When they get bought, you never know what's going to happen. But I can tell you their booth was kind of sad. The Vitendum booth was kind of sad. I didn't see a lot of there certainly wasn't any new, like the Rycode stuff. I did the reviews of the microphones, was it last year? And now nobody can, they're hard to source. They're hard to find them and figure out where to buy them. And I don't know if they're still manufacturing them. They also own, another company that's owned by them is Audix. Again, a company that makes some pretty decent microphones, but it's hard to figure out what's going on. I believe Audix took over the manufacturing for Rycode microphones, but for whatever reason, we're not seeing a lot of production out of them. Fachiri, I've not had any issues with the smart batteries, and I've been using them for about a year on 12-hour shoots. They do get hot. hot charging though. Okay. Cognition, which DAW is the most popular with post-production professionals? Pro Tools is the most popular. Nuendo, I think, was second. And then all the others. Well, Logic and there was Logic and Studio One, and then Logic, and then it got everything beyond that, like Reaper and Bitwig and all these others. Fairlight, much smaller. All of those smaller ones were all less than 1% each, I believe, or right around 1% each. So much smaller market share. So I know, DaVinci Resolve is really cool. I like it, and it's basically Fairlight has become my primary DAW at this point. But it is useful to keep in mind that it doesn't have quite the market penetration that you might think by looking at the Blackmagic website. Because it's a different offer. It's a different thing. They put all the video editing, all the coloring, all of the motion graphics and compositing, and the audio mixing all in one app. And that is not something that the post-production world is used to. So they have all these workflows that are built around separate apps. So Avid is where most of the editing is done. Avid Pro Tools is where most of the post mixing is done. The coloring is done in different apps, possibly some in DaVinci Resolve, but I think a lot of that is still being done in other apps as well at the high end of the market. So it just depends on which part of the market you're working at. I work in corporate video and education video. And for us, we're mainly using Premiere for edit, and we don't do except for our special kind of marketing pieces, we don't usually do a separate mix, but when we do, I'll do that. And I'll usually do that in either Audition or in Fairlight, one of those two. So that's what the world looks like right now from that data, from that particular data set. All right, friends, we are past time. It's time to wrap it up. Thanks for joining us today. Hope everybody's doing well. Again, would love to see you over on the Discord. We have a link for that at the top of the chat there, or pretty early in the chat, if you're interested in joining and have not already. In the meantime, get out there and make some great sound, and we'll talk to you again next week. Take care, everybody.